I thought the phone.
Oh, it's the phone.
Oh, I'm really sorry, everybody.
So please know while you're taping to have your phone on silent.
Thank you, Miss Tina. Sorry. Okay, go back.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to April's episode of We've Got the Keys, Mortgage Talk with the Broad Squad. This is our third episode. If you've missed the first two episodes, the links are below. Please go ahead and check them out, and please like and subscribe. This month, we are talking about a cocktail for Easter since we're headed into the holiday season. We're also going to talk a little bit about renting versus buying, which is a very hot topic generally. So we're going to head right into making the cocktail that we've picked out for Easter. We have a mocktail version and a cocktail version of it. I thought I'd go over the ingredients in it first, and then we're going to mix it up, pour it in our glasses, and have a little taste test.
What's it called?
It's called the Cottontail Martini. How cute!
Oh, very
Isn't that
nice.
cute?
It's appropriate for brunch.
It is appropriate for brunch.
Or
it's appropriate
dinner.
for dinner, or maybe an after-dinner treat. That might be nice.
Or while you're dying Easter eggs.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that would be fun.
That might be a mess, though. If you're drinking martinis and dying Easter eggs, that could
Frosted
get that
cookies.
wouldn't work at my house.
No. So the cocktail version of this recipe has Malibu rum, vanilla vodka, a little splash of pineapple juice, some half and half, some coconut cream. The honey and the coconut and the marshmallows are your garnishes to your glasses.
Remedy.
And if you want the mocktail version of it, you just eliminate the alcohol and substitute it with milk, whatever your choice of milk is. So we're going to start mixing it up here. Tina on her side has the mocktail version of it. So she's got the milk and half, the coconut cream, and the splash of pineapple juice. I've got over here our vanilla vodka to start out with.
I get to start pouring.
You can start pouring. We have our coconut rum, Malibu coconut rum. I have some half and half to make it nice and creamy. We have our cream of coconut. And we have
Aruba, Jamaica.
yeah.
Go there, Roxanna.
Then our splash of Coke and pineapple juice, okay? Make sure the lid's on really tight because you don't want it all
That could
over
be
you.
messy
Which
too.
is gonna happen. Okay, now we shake it up really good like we do a normal martini. And Suzanne and Laura have got to honey and coconut the rims of the cups there while Tina and I shake. We're gonna get this all mixed up really good.
See, I'm like fat shaking.
All right. So we've got one glass done. Look at that.
Our thing on.
Once we pour this in here, we'll stick that in there. Yeah. Okay. The kids will love the mocktail. It's super cute.
The kids may love the cocktail, depending on the kids.
Well, if you're over 21.
Right.
And drink responsibly. Okay. Here we go.
Enough, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Floats.
Here we go.
Like a little bunny behind.
Look at that. To the Broad Squad.
There we go. Look
Cheers,
at that.
ladies.
How did you get yours on yourself?
Oh,
Does it go on the
floated
side of the glass?
marshmallow.
Oh.
You can put it on the side. You can float it in the middle.
It's his cottontail.
Right.
Hello.
He's got the cottontail. He's floating upside down. He's swimming.
All right.
Okay, ready?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm.
Cheers.
Alrighty.
Ooh, that's yummy. Very creamy. This would also be good if you blended it with some ice and made a frozen cocktail.
Right.
Absolutely, it would.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about renting versus buying. That's a big question we get all the time. And Laura is going to kick this discussion off for us.
Sure. There's nothing better than having that first time home buyer conversation where, okay, I'm renting, I'm paying $1,500 a month. I'd like to buy a a house. My budget is $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month or whatever it is. And, we find that it's a big step, right? It's scary. When you're making that leap from renting to home ownership, it's more than just the math. It's more than just the monthly payment. It's how much cash are you going to be using for the purchase of the home? What's the monthly payment going to be? What if something goes wrong and you have a leak, right? What if something happens to that house? Now you're financially responsible for it instead of just calling your landlord and saying, hey, I have a leak, right? When you're renting, the leak is the landlord's problem, but when you own, the leak has now become your problem, right? And it's scary. When I bought my first house, I was terrified, right? What if something goes wrong? What if I'm buying the wrong house? What if I hate it?
Right.
What if I don't like homeownership?
Right.
What if this is the wrong move? But that's all very normal. This is the biggest financial transaction of your life. Buying a house is the biggest financial transaction you're going to see. It's not buying a car, right? It's not buying a computer. So it's normal to be nervous. But that's the great thing about Genesee Regional Bank and the loan officers that we work with. We really do a great job in talking with you and educating you about what you have to think about, what you have to plan for, not only for that monthly payment and not only for the closing, but then post-closing, things to be mindful of, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a really good experience with Genesee Regional Bank and all of our loan officers. We really take the time to talk with customers about that transition from renting to owning. And it's a big transition, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's definitely a big transition, and it's also in a lot of respects it can be a very big timing transition too. So when I meet with a first-time buyer, we talk a lot about where your comfort level is with your monthly payment. Are you comfortable with the rent you're paying now? Can you pay a little bit more? We also talk a lot about when is your lease up? How do we need to time this? How do we need to get you out into the market? How do we need to position you as the best buyer that you possibly can be in this market?
Bonnie, do any of your customers who are currently renting maybe go month to month if they're getting ready to purchase?
A lot of apartment complexes will allow you to go month to month. It may be a little bit more expensive for you to do that, but if it's necessary, it's a good option for you to have rather than getting tied up into another lease for another year, because you're spending a lot of money on rent that could be going towards building equity into a home. Once you've made the decision to buy a home, you want to stick to that plan as much as you possibly can.
Exactly. And the one thing with being a first-time buyer, or any buyer for that matter, you don't want to have buyer remorse. After a person finds that house, they might not have been ready to actually go and purchase, and, then they're going to feel kind of like, why did I do this? So we don't want you to be in that position. So really take the time and think about it to be prepared. We are the Broad Squad of preparing people.
Yes.
That is for sure. But there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages of both. So write your pros and cons of each. As Laura mentioned a few things, the disadvantage of renting is that you're not building that equity. It's going to your landlord's equity. The disadvantage these days is, of buying is there's no houses out there to buy, which is not just, Rochester area, but a lot of the country is experiencing lack of homes. And it was really, something I was able to participate last month, February actually, so 2 months ago, into a mortgage advocacy conference in Albany. And we met with some senators and some legislators. And we proposed some bills that we really are hoping to get passed to maybe help with the housing crisis. So there's a lot of behind the scenes things that are being done in our industry to kind of help, alleviate the housing crisis. It's going to take some time, but we are working on it. It was really great to be part of that.
That's great.
Yeah. So again, make your list. Tina, you being a homeowner, when you were trying to buy your first home, what things did you consider? I mean,
Again, a divorce mom. I went and rented, and the goal was 1 year. And the kids and I ended up renting 5 years, which was not what I wanted to do. But that gave me some time to save. It also gave me some time I actually got into the old first-time homebuyer program.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Used to take time, so I was able to do all of that. What Laura was saying about being afraid, this time I was going and buying it alone, not with my spouse. And I think the first time I really didn't pay attention, I wasn't in banking. So I just was like, okay, whatever, I'll sign now. And then this time I was in banking, still overwhelmed by the whole process. And I remember sitting up at night or waking up in the middle of the night and being so afraid, how am I going to continue to make this payment?
Yeah.
What happens if I don't make it? What happens? And I'm still there.
Yeah. Yet another reason why banking is a great career for women, right? Because being in banking and applying for a mortgage, when I bought my house, I was in banking as well. And so I had a little bit more of a comfort level with how things are done. Most of our customers are not in banking, right? So it's foreign to them. It's scary. It's overwhelming. It's like, a completely different language when you're not in the financial services field to buy a house. So it can be overwhelming and it can be scary. I remember I once had a customer, and homeownership is not for everybody, right? I remember I once had a customer, and I talked with her for probably 5 or 6 years. We talked for a long time. She finally ended up purchasing a home. She qualified very well, and it was just a little too much, and she sold it 6 months later. And she went back into her apartment, and that was the right move for her, right? Because homeownership isn't for everyone.
No.
Right. And so it's important to kind of understand sometimes renting is really the right answer for you. Sometimes homeownership is the right answer. But all of our customers are different, and it's our goal to be able to talk with them and help them get to whatever path is the right path for them.
Those advantages of renting, it's kind of flexible. If you don't like the area where you're at, you can always pick up and move. It's going to be a little bit cheaper. You don't have to come up with a down payment, the closing costs. So as Tina mentioned, saving along the way can take some time. So sometimes that can be an advantage because you don't have to worry about the stress of the large output of the funds. And this day and age, it is going to take quite a bit of money, especially with these prices, right? There's less credit criteria. So if someone is just starting out on their journey of obtaining credit, their scores may not be the greatest. It doesn't mean they were late on payments, but it takes time for that credit to mature and the payment history to kind of factor into your score. So a lot of times it's good for that first time buyer, to maybe rent for a few years while they are building their credit. That's a big thing because credit plays a big part into your mortgage.
Absolutely.
So what other advantages might there be to owning a home versus renting? For example, we talked about retirement. It could be a way to help build that retirement. I mean, you're building equity, right? So in the end, you're going to have more behind you and perhaps a house paid off for, who knows, right?
Yeah, if you're renting,
have, when it comes to that time.
If you're renting, you're not building equity, you're building your landlord's equity.
That's right. And homes appreciate over time. So the equity that you're starting to build is just going to grow and grow as the years go on, which is either going to help you fund your retirement a little bit, or it's going to help you get into the next house that you want to get into.
Exactly. And speaking of the cost benefits, it is actually cheaper to own a home, because that rent, as Laura pointed out, is going up and up and up because the lack of apartments out there, those landlords know that.
Everyone's raising their rents.
And, you could get into a house payment a lot cheaper, and you're going to be able to grow into that house payment as well. those taxes and insurance are not going to, go from 0 to 100. I mean, they're going to increase over time, but it's not going to be such a sticker shock like your landlord could call you up and say, hey, I'm increasing your rent by $200 next year. I mean, so there's a little bit of that more stability with owning that home, especially with the finance portion of it.
Right. It really is a wealth builder in so many different ways. You're building equity, you have some additional tax write-offs perhaps, and it creates stability. Home ownership is really, it's been a great thing for me. I've owned a home for 25 years now, and I love where I live, and I'm part of the community, and I love my neighbors, and my kids have grown up in this beautiful neighborhood that we love so much.
Yes.
It's been really, really nice to be part of a community and be part of something. So it's been really rewarding, and I'm happy that we did it.
Right.
There's some days I'm not happy, right? Some days when
Well,
things go wrong and things go sideways.
Oh,
and
this is broken now.
I'd like to call a landlord sometimes, for some of the things that have gone wrong, but
1-800 hubby.
well, he's my property manager, unpaid.
You can't keep trading hunts in your backyard with your neighbors.
That's right. That's right.
But those are all the memories, right?
I've spoken like a true introvert that I am. I don't want to talk to anybody, so I love, sitting in my home and on a nice snowy day on my cozy couch with a blanket and a book, and it's my house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
And if I want to let the grandbabies paint on the wall, they can, and I let them.
Okay.
So
Anything at your own.
yeah, and it is, because it can be painted over. But there's something to be said about the American dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
And there's nothing wrong with wanting to own a piece of property.
No, there's
no.
And that looks different for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we hope you all enjoyed this episode this month. We are going to get our wheels out, so we know what we're going to talk about in.
You got them?
Yes, I have them. They're right over here. This is the topics that we're going to talk about for the month of May.
So that'll be
It
our
will be in full bloom.
Yep.
episode number 4.
Yes.
Look at
Yep,
us.
episode number 4.
If you
Alright, do you
haven't
wanna-
seen the first 2 prior to this, we encourage you, go on and watch and like and subscribe and share.
Sure.
All right.
Yes.
Ready? Let's go.
Okay, ready? Spin it, Suzanne.
What we get?
2 truths and a lie.
Oh, I don't like that.
We gotta use it.
Truth and a lie.
Okay.
And what do we got? Mystery box.
Mystery box. Okay.
Mystery box want to keep coming up.
Mystery
You'll have to
box
stay
keeps coming
tuned
up.
and
Yeah.
wait
We
until
have a
next month to
mystery
see.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We're
We
gonna
will have next
one.
month.
Yeah.
And 2 truths and a lie.
Okay.
That'll be fun.
All right.
Guys.
Racy.
Thank you very
We
much
got the
again.
keys.
Enjoy your holiday season.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
We got the keys. We got the keys. Everybody, we got the keys.